to Intruders TV. Today we're talking to Biz Stone from Twitter. Hello Biz, tell us a little bit about yourself and about Twitter.
Alright, a little bit about myself. Well, I'll start with Twitter. Twitter is it's just a very simple service that we created so that people could update their friends and family with exactly what they're doing right now. So you send a text message under 140 characters using mobile phone, IM, or the web, and we route that message back out to your friends and family, or whoever's following you on Twitter. And a little bit about myself is I helped co-found the company with my friends Jack Dorsey and Evan Williams, and prior to that I worked at a company called Obvious, which was the owners of another company called Odeo, as well as Twitter. We spun Twitter out into its own company. And before that I worked at Google for a couple of years on Blogger.
Cool. So you came, I guess you have a lot of exposure in the blogging community, so to speak. And so Twitter, I mean, it's not quite blogging, but I suppose people call it microblogging, right? So why microblogging, right? How did that come about?
Well, I mean, it's actually funny because I think there's two different kinds of blogging. There's the blogging that everyone thinks of when they think of blogging, which is, you get somebody who's kind of, up on a soapbox or a pundit. They want to reach as many people as possible. They have things to say. And then there's sort of 90% of what's really going on in blogging, which is, what's going on in Zanga and LiveJournal and really on Blogspot, is that people are they're keeping in mind about, a dozen friends that they're communicating with, and they're just posting regular stuff, and they're keeping in touch with a small circle. They're not necessarily always locking this content down so that only those 12 friends can see it. They're kind of keeping it open. They're playing it kind of loose. And so with Twitter, it's very much the lowest common denominator. It's like, how simple can we make it so that people can still keep each other updated and stay in touch in this interesting way, but not necessarily have to create a whole post and create a whole website and this whole thing. So try to make it easy.
Yeah, and I mean, with 140 characters, you're really, I guess, limited. And some might say it's a bad thing, but some might think it's actually a good thing, right? So,
yeah, we think it's great. I've always been a really big fan of the creativity that comes from constraint. You give somebody that very limited amount of space to work with, and they come up with these interesting ways to use it. Like, people started doing these Twitter haikus, where you still do a Twitter update where you say what you're doing, but you do it in haiku form.
Right.
So stuff like that, I think, is really fun.
Okay. So you have microblogging, right? You've been going for about, how long have you been going now?
The site's been live to the public, I think, a year now.
A year. Yeah. Okay. So where's Twitter going now? Like, what is some of the you adding new features, or are you keeping it simple on purpose?
Well, we're doing both. I mean, we are keeping it simple on purpose, but that being said, we're following user behavior, and we're trying to constantly take the pulse and the temperature of what users are doing with the service and what they're requesting through help. And we always monitor blogs and blog comments and emails and all this stuff to see what people are saying about Twitter and what they want to get out of it. So we're definitely focused right now on growing the network and growing the user base, and at the same time refining the user experience so that Twitter continues to be something that's easy to use and compelling to use. But at the same time, we're looking into what is the most requested feature, what do people really want to get out of Twitter, and there's some basic glaring omissions right now, like you can't search. There's no way of searching through Twitter to see if you already have 20 friends on there that you don't even know about.
Right. Yeah.
So we definitely have to, these are certain things we just have to build.
Right.
And then another very requested feature is groups. Which means different things to different people.
Yep.
Like some people want to just organize their friends in a certain way, and other people actually want to send a message out to a certain group of people, and so some groups need to be private, some need to be public. So it's something we're kind of looking into, and we're trying to make sure that we take the temperature as much as possible so that we know what people want and we build the right thing.
Right. Okay. So you recently raised a VC round, right?
Right.
I guess you're using that for expansion and future growth.
Yeah, we're hiring, so that's a big part of it. We need to grow the team. We have 3 engineers, and we're growing really fast, and we just want to make sure that, like I said, to do all this stuff, we need more people.
Right.
So,
okay.
A big part of the raising the money was just so we can continue to grow the company and grow the team.
Right. What are some of the public stats available in terms of the users or people? Even number of employees. What are some of the stats around Twitter?
Well, there are 9 employees right now, 9 to 10, and as far as public stats, there's so many different numbers like swirling around my head. We don't give out the total number of users. We're keeping that to ourselves. I believe on the front page there are some numbers that describe the amount of like sort of messages going through the system and all this. Like I don't have the number off the top of my head right now, but
Okay. In terms, so you raised the VC round, but what is the business model underneath Twitter? How are you looking to monetize it?
Yeah, the business model has not been launched yet.
It's beta.
Yeah, well, it's not even beta. It's not even implemented yet. But we've been doing a lot of thinking about the business model. There are actually several models that we could pursue. So at this point, we're continuing to focus on the user experience and all that stuff, and we're continuing to research these several models to find out, which is the best one we can lead with. So there are several, available to us. Just right now, we're sort of in a mode where we're still researching those and trying to figure out which is the best way to approach it.
Okay.
So it's on hold for now, and that's again part of the VC money is we can continue to operate, we can continue to hire and pay employees while we take our time to launch the right business model for Twitter.
So you must have very understanding VCs then.
Oh yeah, I mean we chose them because we were sort of mutual fans of each other. Fred Wilson at Unisquare Ventures was a guy who we'd been reading his blog and saying all this really smart stuff about Twitter, and so he happened to approach us and told us that if we were ever looking to raise money that he'd be interested. And it was around that same time that we were both admiring what he was writing on his blog and also thinking about taking money. So it kind of worked out really well. For us, it was like almost hiring somebody. We just really want to work with this person. So, yeah, he's a huge fan. And, he knows what's out there available to us, and he knows it's all about getting stuff right and taking time.
Yeah. Okay. There are a few other services that have recently came up that do microblogging. Services like Jaiku, even Pounds more recently, right? So, what separates Twitter from those?
Well, I think one of the biggest things for us has been our API from the beginning. We launched an API very early on so that third-party developers could build on top of our infrastructure and build interesting new sort of layers to Twitter. And we've just been completely blown away by the amount of activity there. There are over 200 different applications built on top of Twitter now, and there's more increasing every day. And those are just the ones that we know about because there's a fan-created website that's trying to catalog them. But every day I bump into one on Twitter that I hadn't even heard of before. Like this one that's a timer where you can use Twitter as a timer to remind yourself to do things. And I saw one this morning that lets you create bookmarks from text messages. And there's all these things being built on top of Twitter. So I think one of the big things that sets us apart from some of the folks that have really helped to kind of legitimize the space that we've created here. I mean, that's one of the ways we look at all these other services. It's just that we weren't sure if we were going to build something that was going to be compelling, but the amount of users signing up every day and the amount of companies that are doing the same thing kind of indicated to us that there's something here. Right. So I really think the way that we differentiate ourselves is by our very open API.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you basically create the whole ecosystem, right, which feeds itself and
Yeah. I mean, and as a matter of fact, that it'd be there are services like TwitterVision.com, which is built on top of Twitter. It's an animated map of the world showing Twitter's updating.
Yeah,
that's something that's built on top of the Twitter infrastructure, but it's kind of its own thing. It's a service that you can be completely immersed in and use, and yet it's powered by Twitter. So that's an interesting sort of use case for the API.
What are some of the channels that you use to take in the messages and B to pump them out as well? So you mentioned web. Obviously, there's mobile.
Right. Yeah, there's web, there's mobile, and there's instant message. Right. And we're always working to create more. The Twitter software thinks of all these things as devices. We think of them as devices. So we want to always add more devices. Like email is one that we don't accept right now, but we should. Basically any way we can get a message in, and then any way we can send it back out to people, based on their preferences, is interesting to us. So the other thing is, because of the API, there are new channels being created that previously didn't exist. Right. Like Twitterific is a downloadable desktop application for Macintosh that wasn't around before Twitter, and now it's a new device. So.
Yeah. I'm curious about the mobile side of things, and in terms of sending out the messages, is there expense that's incurred every time you send it out?
Yeah. We accept messages from mobile, and then we send the messages out to however many followers that person has who's following them on. There's different overlaps in different sort of geographical areas and where mobile is more popular or less popular. But yeah, there is an expense associated with sending out massive amounts of SMSs to our users.
Okay. And you're doing this globally, right?
Right.
You're present in, I imagine, at this point,
It's
pretty much every
around
single country.
Yeah, it's around the world. We have short codes right now in the US and Canada, and then we have long code in the UK, which serves really most of the world through that long code. And we're looking to, getting more exposure, more local short codes, so that, we can be sort of on the ground in these places instead of so far removed, that someone in India has to go through a UK long code. So, but we have been global since very early on. It's sort of been, it's been an interesting thing to do because we didn't localize the web component. The website is really just one of many devices, one of many ways to interact with Twitter. You can actually interact with Twitter and never go to the website. Do it, solely through SMS or solely through one of these other devices. So, it's international.
And so the final question is, so you've been, with, sorry, what was the company that spawned off?
Obvious, yeah.
So the final question is, you've been with Obvious, with Google, now with Twitter. I guess what's your advice to budding entrepreneurs?
I think the key thing is that you have to be really excited and passionate and be a user of your own service. That's something that we learned at Odeo as we were building Odeo. It demoed really well. Everyone loved it. They all looked at it and said, "This is great. This is beautiful." And we made it really pretty and we made it really easy, but we weren't really podcasting. We didn't do a lot of podcasting, and so that was very troubling. The fact that we have this product, and it's growing fairly well, but we're not using it ourselves, and that was weird to us. So Twitter was kind of created as a way to let's create something that we can be super excited about, that we want to use. And so everyone here at Twitter uses Twitter every day, and we use it all the time. So I think that's really key, is that you have to be personally invested in what you're building in order to be able to really succeed.
Be passionate, basically, about whatever you do.
Yeah, and not just say you're passionate, but really you're using it every day.
Yeah, right.
And when it's broken, you feel it. You're pissed off, and you want to yell at the founders, but you are the founder. So I think that's really the most important part.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And good luck.
Thanks.